right. Just smash that live button. I'm waiting for the YouTube confirmation, and we're live. So
Okay.
good morning or good afternoon, everybody. I'm used to doing these streams in the morning. We have Elijah here, not in video, but in audio.
What's up, everybody?
Hope you all are doing well and excited to be here. I'm excited to have all of you. Let's see, who do we got in the chat? Let's see who's here. So I see Marco, Kyle, Jason, Andrew. Seems like this is going to be a pretty poppin' stream, wouldn't you say, Elijah?
Yeah, yeah, it looks like people are excited, which is kind of what we hoped for on this one.
Yeah, this is a big change. So what I did, just to give a little background on the setup so far, is I have a 3.9 install in one tab, and then I have a 4.0 install in the other window. So we can kind of compare things side by side and see how everything looks. We'll go through the changes here in a minute. I want to get everybody warmed up and welcome in. So Elijah, while we're kind of rolling, or while we're getting warmed up here, I was curious, how excited are you for this? I imagine probably pretty excited. There's a lot of big changes.
Yeah, I'm super pumped. I was very excited to get it out. I wanted to get it out earlier than we did, but my goal was to push it out before the end of the year, and luckily we made that. But yeah, now it's like these are some big changes. So now it's a matter of getting feedback from the community that decides to help us test out and testing internally and polishing things up. So
Yeah,
it's going to
totally.
be an interesting couple of weeks.
Yeah, this is a big one. I was I was gonna give you some hassle for a lack of view, but I think Lewis settled that one for us. So
Yeah, there's plenty of conversation around that on Facebook,
already, or you just mean in general? You just mean in general?
just in general, yeah.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, let's take a look at the main Oxygen website real quick. So we're gonna look at the just changelog real quick, and then we'll kind of dig right in and play around a bit. So major change that probably, unless it impacts people's third-party add-ons, this here, the JSON switch. I was curious if you can kind of talk us through why that would be something you guys focus on, and what sort of advantages and maybe trade-offs you have switching to JSON instead of shortcodes.
Yeah, so we started running into issues with people that had a bunch of third-party add-ons that added new shortcodes. Because with WordPress shortcodes, you can't nest shortcodes within themselves. So like if you have a div shortcode, you can't put another div shortcode within it. So what we had to do with the Oxygen is we had to append like an increment to those shortcodes, which means we have to register a new shortcode for each level of depth we want to allow. And so by the time you register 16 shortcodes per element and you start adding 10, 20, 30 additional elements, there's actually a hard limit within WordPress where it just can't handle a certain number of shortcodes being registered on a site.
Okay.
So this gets us around that problem.
Cool.
Which
Okay.
was partially solved before because we started just registering the additional shortcodes for the elements that were nestable instead of all of them. So it was partially resolved. But the other thing is shortcodes are not what the builder actually uses. So when you get into Oxygen, it's already using JSON. It always has been. So this cuts out the middleman of having to parse shortcodes into the builder, make changes, and then save back to shortcodes. Instead, we're just working directly with the data format that Oxygen understands, which I expect will have some performance impacts in a positive way, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully so. And I know probably also when you're getting like super complex layouts where you have 15 divs nested inside of each other and divs inside of those divs, then it probably that's where you would run into the problems typically, I would assume.
It can. It was more just the fact that we had to register so many shortcodes.
Oh, okay, I see.
The other thing that this allows us to do is, I mean, JSON's a very well understood format and it's easy to parse. Like you can copy and paste the Oxygen JSON out into any JSON interpreter or VS Code or whatever and format it, and you can see like a beautiful tree structure. I think I covered that in the release video.
I haven't watched that yet.
Yeah, so that will be helpful for our support team in debugging because shortcodes are kind of hard to parse and make human readable very easily.
Yeah.
But it also, I anticipate in the future, it will help lock in a little bit because you can easily just grab the JSON from a design and you'll have a tree view and you can go in and grab content that you need. It's much easier to do that with the JSON than the shortcodes.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are benefits to this that I haven't anticipated. One thing I think we're going to be able to do away with mostly is shortcode signatures, which is pretty big because that's one of the big reasons that migrated Oxygen sites can break sometimes. So if we are able to get rid of that for the most part, that will make moving an Oxygen site much easier in the future too.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. That I can imagine how that would have a big impact. The other one is the repeaters not having duplicate IDs. So that's super nice. That's been there, I think, essentially since the repeater was released. And
Yeah.
the big hurdle for that, for most people, I think, was related to SEO and then like add-ons and trying to target a specific div in a repeater wasn't possible.
Yeah.
Was that a technical hurdle for you guys that finally was able to get solved? And do you imagine there's cool benefits of that now being fixed?
So it definitely was a technical hurdle. It was one we actually genuinely didn't think we could fix. But sometimes with these things that you don't think you can fix, when you finally have the ability to dedicate ample resources to investigating it, you can find a solution. So that's what we did here. And one of our devs came up with a way to basically move the IDs into a data attribute, which allows us to retain the styling that's assigned to the ID of the root repeater element. That was one of the big deals. The reason why we were scared to change it is because it would break all the styling everyone had done.
Yeah.
This doesn't do that because of the way we changed it. And then we just increment the IDs, which is what we should have done from the beginning. I don't think this isn't a fun change or a cool change. It's just one of those things that's how it should have been.
Yep.
And it was kind of one of those things that people would bring up a lot. And it was like, yeah, it definitely should not be how it is. So I'm excited that we were able to find a way to change it because duplicate IDs are just bad all around. Like it breaks JavaScript, it breaks accessibility, it breaks SEO. Yeah.
The Jason in the chat just mentioned accessibility fix too. I don't have any original ideas, but I either stole it from somebody or read it somewhere else that that was one of those things for me that was like hashtag just oxygen things, And
right.
I was just like, I honestly didn't think that it would ever going to be fixed either. So I'm stoked to hear that. So we've been staring at this changelog screen that I'm sure all of you guys have already seen. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the builder UI overhaul. And I'm glad to have you here with me, Elijah, so we can kind of go over the pertinent points. Like I mentioned earlier, I have a 3.9 site here. So I'll go ahead and I guess I'll just add a new template to this site real quick. This 3.9 site, we'll open that. And then this was the 4.0 install that I made. I wanted to take it from the top and just kind of see if there was any changes all the way down. Blank. And then got a couple of prompts here. So Oxygen's now using JSON. We touched on that. I don't have anything on this site, so I'm assuming I don't need to re-sign and then regenerate. I'll just do it. Done. Wow.
Yeah, if you don't have anything on there, I don't think that you'll have to do any of that.
Cool. All right, well, let's go ahead and fire up a new template here. And right away, you can see some of the changes. So I'll just name this template.
You might have to hard refresh to get some of the CSS changes to come through.
Okay.
So if anything looks a little goofy, I'll call it out and say, hey, maybe, refresh your browser cache.
Button looks a little different. We got a nice little edit function here. So here's where you touched on the shortcodes. There's nothing there, of course, but those are going to be read only. And then our JSON output will be right there. So that's exciting. Just as a little teaser for all of you guys watching, 80 of you so far, I have something coming that is going to, an app that is basically going to be pretty cool that ties into this. So stay tuned. Here's our new loading animation. So this is cool. I know you probably got obliterated in support regarding the builder load times. That feels faster?
So we haven't done extensive performance testing because the JSON change wasn't primarily performance focused. But what I've noticed is that while the loading can still be pretty slow on huge sites, on smaller sites, does seem to be faster. That's anecdotal. I haven't actually done any benchmarking.
Okay.
But the builder loads in faster once the loading's done. There's not as much pop in of elements is what I've noticed.
Okay. Cool.
So once you can actually see the canvas, everything just seems to be there. And you're not waiting for things to kind of populate.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Okay. Well, I mean, first of all, our device breakpoints being right here is really cool. I really like those tooltips. and it's pretty self-explanatory what they are, but I mean, with the tooltips, it's just so much better. So I saw somebody say something about this looks like Webflow. So I think Webflow kind of has I don't want to say golden standard, but they do have some expertise in UI UX, should we say. So
Yeah.
was this at all
Yeah.
influenced by them?
Well, I think Lewis has publicly stated that Oxygen was always intended to be Webflow for WordPress.
Oh, okay, cool.
So it is a direct inspiration in a lot of things we do. Like if we're not sure how to tackle something, especially UI wise, we will go and take a look at Webflow and see how they're doing it, because obviously they have a good formula.
Yeah, they totally do. This all looks really nice. One thing that I just immediately did was I clicked the plus button and went right down to where I figured a heading would be.
There's some muscle memory that's going to need to be reprogrammed a bit, I think.
Totally. Yeah. So I wanted to. Oh, no keyboard nav. I don't know if anybody else tries to. Every single time I type something in the Oxygen search field, I press like down in this case, or I press right, because in the past you would type text and it would pop up text on the left and text link over here. And I would always want to get to text link, which it's not that big of a deal, but it would be nice to have that keyboard nav.
I agree. That would be very nice.
I wonder, maybe we know a guy that can help with that. All right. So what I wanted to do real quick was just look at some of these changes side by side. So we have our ID state. Anything? Well, so this actually feels a lot like just other builders where the margin is on the outside. It kind of gives you a better visual representation of what's actually taking place with your padding and your margins. So you kind of know. I'm struggling to see on my screen. I don't know if that's the case for everybody. There is a border right here that is a little bit faint, but that would actually be kind of helpful to give you representation of the outside.
Yeah, we will probably either make the border more pronounced or completely remove it. Also, those inputs are broken in the alpha. So I'm pretty sure the padding is affecting margin and the margin's affecting padding for some of these. That is something we noticed pretty late, and we're going to aim to fix in a future release.
Well, so if it's got 25 pixels.
Yeah, try it on a div. I'm pretty sure it's really apparent on a div that everything's kind of flip-flopped, and it's an easy fix. It'll be fixed before the final release 100%.
Okay. Well, it seems kind of like it's working. So if I go 25 pixels.
Maybe it's not broken. That would be awesome, but I'm pretty sure it is.
Well, let me make it more pronounced on the padding side. So if it's 50, yeah, wouldn't it be 50 inside of here?
Yeah, it should be.
Okay, so it's just reversed. That's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's just flip-flop. So when we rearrange those, there's some attributes that need to be adjusted, and they weren't. So
Gotcha.
They will be.
See, Kyle was saying it does have a border. It is there, but it's like black. It's like pretty much unreadable. But so that's definitely a difference. These little blue indicators, is that to do with classes?
Yeah, so it's going to tell you what is styling that input.
Okay.
So it should turn green if it's a class style. Yeah, if you remove that, it'll turn green. And then on all the other fields besides the ones you're using, it also kind of pops out when you hover it to tell you. So like if you go down to the width field, for instance, you should get an indicator. And if you hover over the little left border, it should kind of fly out.
Okay.
Tell you what those mean.
So then if I added a width there, it says styled via class. Cool. Okay.
Right. But if you have an ID value, then it should remain blue to indicate that you are styling it via the ID.
Is there an indicator to tell you which class?
There's not yet.
Okay.
I haven't figured out exactly how to do it technically yet, but I would consider this an initial implementation of this that I plan to hopefully improve and make even better in the future.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, Kyle has taken the Webflow course from Dave, and he said, great UX on the little color bars. He says, very Webflow. I agree.
Thank you. I spent a few weeks trying to figure out exactly what the best approach is here. And the only thing I'm not super happy with on these is that they're not really colorblind friendly. We probably should have used different colors for that, but then it would have been kind of flying in the face of the UI overhaul as a whole. So
totally. Okay, cool. So let's see, is there anything else for us to take a look at? For the most part, this feels fairly similar. Background, the little color picker is a little bit different.
Yeah, most of it, I mean, we reduced the font size on a lot of stuff to make it a little more compact. We changed the color so it's a neutral gray UI instead of a saturated gray UI, which should help, hopefully, with the UI interfering with color choices in your design.
Okay.
But most of the major changes are going to be on the top bar.
Oh, right.
The rest of it mostly is going to be just kind of making things look a little bit more modern, which is mostly just subtle changes.
Okay. So structure panel drag and drop is still basically feels like 3.9.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no changes there.
Style sheets. Yeah, Kyle made the point that you can get the style sheet so much quicker. You don't have to click the drop down to get to it. That is really nice. And same with selectors too, right?
Yeah, it's a balancing act. Like we wanted to expose the most frequently used stuff, but we didn't want to clutter the UI. So I've definitely seen some of the some UIs that take less clicks but are so much more intimidating. And Oxygen's already intimidating enough without cluttering everything. So we added a few items to the top bar to make it quicker, but we didn't expose everything up there.
Makes sense. Yeah. I mean, it looks nice. So in our settings, there's no more drop down though, right? That's gone.
If you go to settings, which drop down? The back to WordPress?
Oh, I just meant before you had to click the settings gear to get to like any of those three things,
Right.
like style sheet selectors. There is no other drop down except the.
Right.
Okay, got it. Thanks for the call out, Taylor. I appreciate that. I turned off that overlay for you. Cool. So then our save looks pretty similar. So what was some of the other points in here? So inherited values from larger breakpoints are now shown in properties pane fields. So let's take a look at that. If I went to 992, made some changes, then what is that telling us exactly?
So if you drop down to a smaller breakpoint, you should see the values that are inherited down.
Oh, cool. Okay, got it. Got it.
It's one of those things that once I started playing with it, I'm like, how did we survive Oxygen without this?
Yeah, totally. I'm sure you could probably go back in videos of mine, and I'm sure every single one of you that's familiar with Oxygen has done the thing where you're like, damn it, what pixel was that? And you go back up and you're like, okay, that was 24, since whatever.
Super annoying.
Yeah. Totally. Okay. That's really nice. And then I guess if you had some sort of variable, like if you're using automatic CSS, you have the variable it's going to show in that field.
It should. We didn't test it with any third-party CSS variables or anything yet.
Okay, cool. Nick says, have they fixed the slow loading? Yeah, it seems like it's pretty good. We'll have to do some side-by-side comparisons, and that'll probably be a test for a regular video as opposed to a stream. But maybe if we have time, we can take a look at that. Modals now animate out using the same animation they animate in with. Okay. So just sounds like a minor quality of life improvement.
Yeah, it was pretty highly requested in the GitHub.
Really?
That's a lot of these items were on the first page of GitHub, which is why if they seem a little random, we're just trying to knock out the things that people obviously want.
Okay.
And instead of adding discrete controls for animate in and animate out, it made sense to go ahead and just have it animate out using whatever it's animating in with. So hopefully that'll satisfy the needs of the users that requested that.
Cool. Okay. That wasn't something that I have felt like I needed, especially now with Motion Page. You could do some pretty cool stuff with it.
Sure.
Like.
Yeah.
One thing I just noticed was there's like a little flash when I change these tabs. I don't know if that's just a modal. What is actually flashing there? What am I seeing? It's too fast for me to tell. It's not a big deal.
I'm trying to spot it.
So if I
that's interesting. That could be a side effect of some of the CSS changes we've made, because a lot of that stuff in there is just like, it's all there. It's just like shown and hidden depending on the state of the properties pane.
Okay.
So you could get a little bit of a flash in some scenarios, I suppose.
Not a huge deal. This looks nice. I do really like it. I wanted to quickly jump back over to this and compare. So let me get out of this modal and then open my structure panel. I'm going to delete some of this stuff because we just had a bunch of junk in there. Yeah. It's way better.
It's interesting that the changes are relatively subtle, but I feel like it kind of brings us up to modern UI standards a lot more than we were.
Yeah, it feels nice too. Like, yeah, Kyle basically summed it up. It looks all dated now already.
Yeah, it does. I mean, looking at them side by side, it looks like 3.9 was made 10 years ago.
Yeah, yeah. Just the minor things too, like just the way that the classes operate and the breakpoints. It never really dawned on me until this moment that to see the different breakpoints, you had to click the drop down. And like I know if you use something like hydrogen, you can like control and left and right arrow key, but especially in videos, I would try to keep it pretty vanilla. And then this makes it so much easier just to tab through them. Yeah, that's really cool. So I saw people in chat talking about there's keyboard shortcuts too. So,
Yeah, we've added like Command Control S for saving,
oh, yep, there
Command
it is.
Control Delete for deleting, Command Control D for duplicating, and
Nice.
then I think there's a full list of them somewhere. But we added copy and paste too. That's kind of the big one.
Oh yeah, duplicate, save, delete, copy, and paste right there.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So did you say Control D is duplicate, Control C is? Oh, it gives you a little dialogue. I didn't notice that.
Yeah, it lets you know that it copied.
Okay. So then
Now the copy and paste is kind of one that's going to need some polish. So I expect it might break for you during this because it's a live stream and that's what happens with software.
Oh, dude, let's push
it. The baseline is there. So we have, further development cycles before final to make sure it's all polished up.
Yeah, of course. I totally understand. After all, this is an alpha that came out like 2 hours ago.
Right.
Let's see. Let's see what happens if we give this guy a class. Or this I should stop saying that. We give this a class.
Yeah, I've had one report that classes weren't pasted over.
Yep.
But I wasn't able to reproduce that.
Well, it just worked. Right? Didn't it work?
I'm not sure. I missed what you were doing.
I added a class of class and then copied the whole section. Here, I'll delete it and do it again. Let me make sure.
It doesn't look like it copied the whole section.
Copy, paste. Oh, it did work. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I just was being a clown.
And that should work across the site. So if you pop over to a template or another page, you can paste that in there.
Wait, so you can do cross pages?
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, all right. So
it's storing the clipboard locally, basically for this site. It doesn't work across domains like some of the third-party copy and paste add-ons, but it works within the same site, which I think is nice.
Oh, whoops! I just opened the same template again because I don't have an inner content element. Save. Yeah, I wanted to just see that real quick. So I have that template. This is pushing it here.
Yeah, right.
Page, inner content.
You'll notice that I use the word should a lot. It should do that.
You can never speak in absolutes in software.
Right. No, not at all. Because there's somebody with a configuration somewhere where things will not work how they're supposed to.
There it goes. It did work. Cool. Very nice. That's super handy.
I think that'll save a lot of time.
Yeah, that's really nice because there was a lot of cases where you would have to, or at least what I would do sometimes would be, you'd have to either use hydrogen or you'd have to convert it to a reusable part, add it, then, add it as editable, then go delete the reusable part. That was kind of a headache.
Yeah, we've probably just over a day of editing with Oxygen, we may have saved people, an hour or more easily with that change.
Yeah, totally. I was trying to see if there's anything in chat. Marco says, are there any plans to add copy and paste between sites?
I can't comment on future stuff.
Yeah. Why did I even ask that? I knew the answer before I even asked.
I will say that it's, a lot of what we do is informed by GitHub requests, and the requests on the first page are the things we look to first when we're deciding what to develop, as evident by this change, this release. So if you want to see cross-site copy and paste, make a request on GitHub and make sure people vote it up. Feel free to post it in the Facebook group and tell people to go vote for it.
Cool.
That's fine.
Yep. So the other thing is you can rename, double clicks. Oh, it's here. Oh, okay.
Yeah, only in the properties pane. I think the structure pane rename was part of the original request that kind of informed this change, and I think that's something that we will look to address in 4.0 before final.
Cool.
It should be a relatively easy change to make it so you can double click in the structure pane instead of having to click the pencil and rename.
Yeah, that would be nice. The other thing that I realized, so many people are like 8.0, 8.0. People have been like
Yeah.
begging for 8.0 compatibility, so that's good.
Yeah, well, that's a big deal because some hosts are starting to force people to upgrade. So
Yeah,
a
and
lot of people
isn't,
are,
go ahead.
go ahead.
I was just gonna say
So
7.3 is like the latest supported one, right? Or is it even all 7.4?
7.4, I believe, is in it. It might be entering security only updates soon.
Jeez.
So it makes sense that hosts want to change. But the problem is a lot of people didn't know Oxygen wasn't 8.0 compatible, so they'd fire up a new Cloudways or whatever host happens to be using 8.0 by default, and it just wouldn't load, which
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
doesn't look good on Oxygen either. So
Totally. Somebody says, what new elements? Don't think there's any new elements on this at this time.
nothing in core. There's 2 new elements in WooCommerce.
Implementing a mini cart element and cross sell, many other fixes and improvements. Oh, there's a whole change log. I didn't even notice this.
Yeah, it's not huge, but we have more stuff slated for the other cycles between now and final release for WooCommerce 2.0.
Sweet. Okay, that's really exciting. Added several new WooCommerce specific conditions. That's pretty cool. I don't have the
Yeah, those are
WooCommerce add-on.
huge. I think I covered it in the release video, but we added conditions for endpoints in WooCommerce, which is kind of an interesting like paradigm shift. I never really thought about that before, but like there are some plugins that register custom endpoints instead of it being a specific page.
Right.
So you can't template those with Oxygen. But with conditions, if you have a template that does apply to a broader section of things that include those endpoints, then you can add conditional elements and essentially template those endpoints. So like the thank you page or like the order completed page, those can now be manipulated essentially in
Sweet.
your generic template by adding elements that only show on those endpoints.
I'm going to get that add-on real quick. Just the regular WooCommerce one? Or is there an alpha?
There's an alpha for that too. Yeah,
I didn't even notice
the portal.
that.
Yeah, 2.0 alpha 1 should be in the portal.
Maybe I got to the page too fast and it wasn't there.
Maybe.
That's super funny. Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to toss that on the site real quick because there have been a few cases, especially for client work, where people have asked for WooCommerce, and you know I was tempted to do it, but I just wasn't quite sure that I was ready because of the small things that were kind of lacking in Oxygen's implementation of WooCommerce. Like it's just, I would say just a little bit better than most of the others, but it's like the Oxygen way is just not quite there in WooCommerce. So I'm really looking forward to whatever this update brings, as I'm sure many other people are.
Now note the WooCommerce elements won't show up without WooCommerce installed.
I just realized that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that throughout the course of this 2.0 release cycle for WooCommerce, we can kind of get it a little bit closer to our vision of what WooCommerce in Oxygen should be. Mm-hmm. The problem is to really, really deeply customize WooCommerce, you have to override their templates because the way their stuff is output, it's really, really difficult to do the deep customization that people want without implementing our own custom template overrides. Which the problem with that is then we have to make sure that our templates are always up to date with WooCommerce, and it just adds a bunch of technical overhead.
Yeah.
So my kind of halfway solution to that is we added a path to where you can do your own template overrides without having to install an additional plugin. So as long as you have the WooCommerce add-on installed, you can drop those template overrides and that WooCommerce template structure in that path that you see on screen right there. And it will go ahead and let you, I mean, you can make your own templates for WooCommerce just like you would with a child theme.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was possible with your own plugin or whatever before, but this just cuts out one extra step to get that done.
Yeah, totally. That's cool. So I don't think I have to create a specific template. Kyle, you're right. I have never used WordPress before. This is all new to me. Somebody said destroying divception earlier, and I didn't know what they were talking about, but I just now noticed here in the loading animation it says that. All right.
Yeah, there are a few that hopefully no one will ever see because if you do, it means it's taking way too long to load.
Maybe I'll just like pull my internet out at the exact moment that it's loading and I get a chance to see.
You could probably see them by just using network tools and setting it to slow 3G, like in Chrome DevTools.
Is this different? Are these dialogue width's
Yeah.
different?
Yeah, they're much less ugly than before. I
That's
mean,
what I thought.
they didn't fill the whole width, and our little X icon was all misaligned, so we
Right.
fixed that.
Okay. And then any other new conditions besides WooCommerce?
Just WooCommerce.
Okay. Customer bought product. That wasn't there. Product is in
We
cart.
didn't have any built-in WooCommerce conditions.
Oh, I guess I
previous.
got so
Yeah.
used to the third-party ones that I sort of forgot
Yeah.
what was there.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
And so what these will do, like customer bought product, for me instantly that goes to like a membership site. Like you could sell access to any Oxygen content by plugging in the product ID in this condition, so that only people that have bought that product can see the content.
very cool. Yeah, especially for websites that have lifetime deals, it's just so much easier to do that than worry about subscriptions and
Right.
all that sort of stuff. So product is in cart. So would you put the product ID and then it's going to check if
Right.
it's in the cart?
Yeah.
Sweet. That's pretty cool. And then these are the imports you're talking about, like shop page.
So those aren't endpoints; those are just pages, right? At the
Yeah,
very
yeah.
bottom, you'll see is endpoint, and if you drop that down, those are the list of the endpoints that you can add conditional display to now.
Okay, and these are the ones where, like when you drop the account element in, it has all those tabs.
Right. Yeah. So basically, what happens is if you have like a template that applies to, for instance, your checkout page, when you finish your order, and I think the endpoint it uses is order dash received, it shows you some particular thing. And if you wanted to display something on that, it wasn't really possible to do that without displaying it on the whole checkout page.
Gotcha.
And now you can add like a custom, bar across the top or whatever else people want to do.
Cool. Yeah, I would love to see more of these things. Like one of the conditions that I know exists elsewhere, I'm not sure exactly who from those, like cart total. So you can be like, you've reached your $50 minimum shipping or whatever, that kind of thing.
Oh yeah, that would actually be really easy to add.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Somebody made the point to compare the conditions screen to the already open. Oh my God. This is what it looked like?
Yeah, it's weird how blind we become to how ugly Oxygen is.
Dude. That is like shocking. I would never have bet that it looked like this.
Yeah. And that saturated blue color, I think that dates a lot of it too. Like that really
Yeah.
brings it back a few years.
That is so funny. I would have bet that it was all the way across. Like why is there all this dead space? That's so funny.
The CSS was just wrong and it wasn't important enough to fix. We were
I love that
fixing
philosophy.
things. Yeah. I mean, we try to fix the stuff that impacts a lot of people or really breaks stuff. Like this is deal withable, right? You can use it. There's other stuff that make things not usable. So that's where we focus the energy. But for this, I'm like, all right, let's knock out some of the little stuff.
Dude, I like your technical term, deal withable.
Yeah. Yeah. We use a lot of those on the Oxygen team.
That's super funny. So the other thing that I meant to take a look at, we got sidetracked on the WooCommerce thing because I didn't even realize that. Somebody mentioned little Easter egg, and that's true. I think this is actually actually it was Kyle. He said Easter egg. But this is more like a Christmas present at this point. So what was I going to do? Oh, look at the repeater. Yeah, so I'll just toss in a section real quick. And I believe I have some posts on this site. We're not on the proper posts.
Here's where everything breaks. I know it. I know this is going to be the one.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so post type is post. Yeah, Stratos, you're right. All of our oh yes, Kyle, good thought. Do you see Kyle's message in chat?
Yeah. Just to respond to Stratos first. Yeah, I feel you. We're going to have to re-record about 70 videos for a documentation.
Every single one of us,
this.
yeah. All of us.
Because they're all out of date and things have moved, so they're not good anymore.
All right, Elijah. So I'll give you like 5 or 10 seconds, deep breaths. Hit us with it.
Oh, okay. You ready?
Yep.
Hey, this is Elijah with the Oxygen team, and today we're looking at the 4.0 alpha release with Jonathan Jernigan.
Thanks, dude. That was killer. That was amazing. I think we need some claps in chat. We need some fire emojis for those of you guys that have the membership with those special emojis. That was killer. Nice work.
Thank you.
Well, let's see. I want to see how people respond. That was great. All right, I'm gonna Was that amazing? Just popped a poll in chat. I've never done that before. Pedro, you're right. The voice does change.
Oh yeah, there's for sure a voice change for the videos, and it dips as the video gets longer. So my longer videos, it just becomes me talking.
Yeah, it's like the intensity and the inflection is like slowly waning as the video goes on.
Yeah, I get tired after a while, and I'm like,
Totally.
I'm just gotta get this done.
Okay, so real quick, while we're still here, I should have some posts on this other site. So I want to touch on the repeater issues. So if we go to post from before, just in case anybody is not aware what we're talking about, I want to give some context to what's actually taking place here. So, with the repeater, everything kind of appears to work properly on the back end, but in certain instances, and for all the things we already touched on, like accessibility and so on, what you'll end up finding is that your repeater, all these IDs, let's see, all of these div IDs you can see all have the exact same ID. So this is, a problem for a number of things we've already touched on, like SEO and accessibility and all these different things. So these IDs also would cause complications if you wanted to customize the layouts and styling and that sort of thing. But this should, fingers crossed for you, Elijah, ooh, look at that. Is that hard refresh?
Oh, nice. Yeah, no, that's probably just an oversight.
I'm going to just...
Actually, you know what? Do that again. I want to see it because I definitely tweaked the styles on the top bar when editing text.
Okay.
You should not get a scroll bar, but you are on Windows, and Windows is notorious for showing... Wait, are you on Windows?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So Windows shows scroll bars when Mac doesn't. So that's probably what's going on there.
Okay, yeah, easy fix. Just didn't happen to notice that. Taylor says feature, not a bug.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely a feature.
You guys should just scream at me for being on Windows. How about that?
Right? Yeah, just don't use Windows when you're using Oxygen. That's
the problem. Exactly. Bjorn says recording new documentation videos will reveal any remaining bugs. See, that's when they come out. You were like 90% through a video, and the point that you get to is like show stopping, and you're like, okay, cool. I get to re-record this entire thing now. This is going to be wonderful.
Yeah. You've been spying on me, haven't you? Because that happens so much.
Yeah, exactly. And then like, there's no way to like cut the video properly, and then like your tone of voice and like inflection and stuff is wrong when it like skips, you know, to pick back up.
It's hard to keep that enthusiasm going when you've re-recorded like 4 times.
Oh my gosh, I have this fear that I'm going to accidentally forget to edit out like a desk slam or like an expletive or something one day.
Yeah. Well, luckily, so I when I do my videos, I definitely rewatch them completely through, and then I have somebody on our team that schedules them, and they usually watch them too. So I have a little bit of a filter there to catch anything I forgot to edit out.
Yeah. It'll just add some spice to the videos.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so what I wanted to do is just pop in a post title so we get some dynamic info, and then let's go take a look on the front end. Is there a jump to front end shortcode? Or not shortcode, shortcut? Does that exist?
No, but maybe there should be. The thing we did is we added a dedicated keyboard shortcut controller with all the logic.
Okay.
So it's going to be super easy to add new keyboard shortcuts in the future.
Did you see my lack of just experience with this and the muscle memory? I clicked off. I went to save with the button, and then then I went to exit.
It's gonna take a little bit of reworking, but hopefully it's not drastic enough to really throw people off too bad.
Yep. Okay. So. Yep. There it is. Cool. Those are different. So it's basically just appended with an additional number at the end.
Yeah, and then the other thing that the kind of the clever part of this fix is the data ID attribute, which allows your original styling to still work.
So then that you wouldn't manipulate because then it breaks the styling for all the contents of that repeater.
You can't change it as far as I'm aware.
Okay, because I was thinking if it's an attribute, could you manipulate it in some way? I don't see.
I don't think it shows up in the attribute. Yeah, I don't think it shows up in the attributes section for the repeater div or anything.
Yeah, probably not. No. I don't see again why you would even want to do that, but I was just curious.
Yeah, so that basically was one of the big hurdles, is just like, how do we do this without breaking every repeater on every Oxygen website across the entire world? And so we were able to move the styling essentially to a data ID attribute, which can be duplicated without problems. And that lets us still style the elements using ID without worrying about duplicating the ID.
Gotcha. Okay. Neat. Well, that's pretty cool. Your poll for was that amazing? Your voice live on the stream here, was that amazing or what? Hell yes, got 68% of the votes. So nice work there.
Those options look a little bit biased. I think we might be missing a few.
That was my intention. This is a biased stream. Taylor says, we appreciate the backwards compatibility, Elijah. So I'm pretty sure what he's talking about is that you can upgrade 3.9 to 4.0 and it converts the shortcodes into JSON for you, right?
I mean, that and the repeater ID fix, like both of those are big backward compatibility challenges. And that's something that, anybody that was around for 2.0, we had some issues with backwards compatibility then, and we are not going to do that again. So I wanted to make sure that everyone was able to upgrade directly. And that's why we'll probably have a longer testing cycle for this release than normal.
That makes sense because I definitely was around when 2.0 dropped. And the thing was at that time, and especially for me in terms of my technical ability at that point, it made sense for me to go back and kind of redo that stuff. But well, I should clarify. What I mean by that is that I would take it upon myself to upgrade Oxygen sites. I only had a couple at that time from 1. Whatever to 2.0 because it was so much better. But now I'm at a point where I just definitely would not do that. And so I appreciate
the product's too mature to do that. Now, back then it was not in use by nearly as many people. So it wasn't as impactful. And to get to 2.0, which was a vastly superior product, it was necessary. But now it's like we're going to do things as much within our power as we can to ensure that everything just keeps working for people.
Perfect. Yeah, that sounds great. There was something else I was going to ask you about. Oh, the keyboard shortcuts. Was there undo and redo? I guess not yet, but that could happen.
Yeah, undo and redo have been in there. So it's like Command or Control Z and Command and Control Y.
How long has that been there?
So they've been there since undo redo came out, but they were implemented somewhat poorly, and the browser default for those keyboard shortcuts would often kind of interfere. Now that it won't.
Wow. Okay. I either forgot that or didn't know that. That's kind of cool. So, like, if I just added an image, I can just Control Z it. Oh, dope. Okay. Should it not be Command Z and Command Shift Z like Photoshop? Yeah, I don't know. Not sure about that, Taylor. Got a question in chat for you, Elijah. Any chance of ACF fields being grouped by the names of the field groups? Can get crazy on larger sites. That is a great point.
Yeah, that's a good point. There's a chance of anything in the future. Who knows?
Hashtag GitHub?
Yeah, I would recommend just pushing a GitHub feature request out there and then just getting everybody to vote on it.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one, especially for accessibility. I saw some folks that maybe had some trouble in different areas, and they were talking about having difficulty finding them. I hadn't thought about Control F. Can you Control F find in the ACF window?
No, you cannot, but you can search selectors now. So if you pull up your selectors and add a few, you can filter them.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, they all have the word class.
Yeah, nice.
I'll just add a few. Test, Taylor, Kyle, Elijah. Oh, butchered your name. All right. Nice. Okay. Sweet.
So that's one of those areas that kind of similar to ACF can get really cluttered when you have a lot of selectors. And hopefully this makes it much more usable.
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. Marco, do you have contact with Crocoblock for a collaboration? They did reach out to me at one point. I don't know why I didn't do a video on their stuff. I can't remember. I'll have to revisit that at some point. Amanda, what's up? Glad to have you. Did WP Vivid get in touch with Elijah? I highly doubt he'll comment on whether they did or didn't. So we'll just skip on past that. I'll save you some headache there. Add search to dynamic data. Isn't that what we were just talking about? Or did I miss some part of that? Add search to dynamic data?
No, selectors. Search for selectors is what you were looking at, I believe.
Yeah. Kyle, you're right. I asked for $1 million. Okay. What else did we forget here? Anything we didn't touch on? Search field, double-click element's name, upload screenshot for design sets. I don't know how many people that applies to. I'd be curious to know how many of you guys actually use design sets, maybe across client sites and your own work. Probably going to impact Oxy Ninja and the other design set providers out there more so than us. But that's pretty cool
Yeah,
that you can do custom screenshots.
that'd be big for those guys because our screenshot API has issues at times. And if it's not generating the screenshot for you, you just end up with no screenshots. So anybody that builds third-party design sets will benefit from that.
So I guess I don't have any blocks in there. I'll go convert this real quick. Oh, it's right there.
Yeah, there's a field there. And then in the structure pane, when you have a section categorized for the design set, there's actually an option to go ahead and upload a screenshot URL in there too for each section.
In the interface?
Yeah.
Okay. Taylor has a technical question. What did the Oxygen screenshot API use in the backend? Is it per site or from the main Oxygen site they're generated?
So this is something I'm not super well versed in. We have devs that kind of take care of it, but I do believe it's on an AWS like EC2 instance or Elastic Computing instance or something like that. So it's an API that we reach out to generate the screenshots, which is sometimes why we have problems, because anytime you have network communication between somebody's hosting and AWS and their hosting doesn't like it, it just doesn't work.
Yeah, that makes sense. They're hosting on AWS and still can't get the screenshots.
Right?
I saw a good question, which was, where did it go? Any way to import selectors with their style settings, like creating your own framework boilerplate? I don't think out of the box that doesn't exist. And
the best thing to do for that would be to use the design library feature and then just create a page or a section with all the classes and then just import that. And then all the classes will be registered on your site.
It makes sense. Yep.
Yeah.
Got some other questions in chat that aren't applicable right now, but I'll come back to them. So don't worry if you're asking a question and I'm not answering it. So Stratos says 2 days ago we had James Webb launch and today we have O4 launch. Actually, everyone that shorthands at O2 needs to change it to O4.
Yeah, that's been out for a little while, but I think it'll always be O2 for a lot of us.
Yeah, I think so. Taylor asked to throttle network performance. I actually don't even know how you do that.
Network tab, and then you might have to expand that out a little bit.
Oh, throttling.
There you go. Yeah, slow 3G.
All right.
Is usually what I do to test things on slow internet.
I don't even know what resolution. I'm just going to go 1600. Edit. Here we go, Taylor. Just for you, dude. Hopefully it goes slow. Maximizing performance. We've seen eliminating bloat. Destroying a masterpiece. Warming up the engines. Oh, one more. 1.21 gigawatts. Tweaking typography.
Yeah, that one I might actually remove because I'm worried people with really slow internet will be like, why are you changing my typography?
That's a good one. I like it. I'm glad we did that. Got a few lulls in there for sure.
Yeah, I wish I was more clever because that's an opportunity to really put some funny stuff, but I don't have that ability.
You're allowed to be more clever, I think. Then you would be one of the very few stiff or not stiff builders, you know? You don't have to be
right.
You don't have to be so stiff. The Taylor says main reason for slow you guys spent 8 months on the new animation. I think so. I think that's probably accurate. I wanted to double check we didn't miss anything, and also people that are asking for specific feature requests. Elijah's of course not going to touch on them. I get people that reach out to me and they're like, "Hey, you know what's going on? Like, what's going on?" I'm like, "No. If you knew," Elijah legitimately tells me nothing. Like I've told Elijah before, I admire your commitment to secrecy. So my point with saying that is, first of all, kudos to you because you're stronger than me, but also GitHub is the only way. Elijah already said in this stream that if there's changes that are popular in GitHub, he's going to emphasize those for the team. So I would strongly encourage you to do that. Real quick, we got 125 people watching. Holy crap. So
wow.
If you haven't already liked the stream, please do so. I want to give a shout out to Elijah for being here. And Then also, is there anything we missed? Anything else worth looking at?
No, I mean, I don't think so. I mean, we made a lot of changes, but a lot of them are wrapped up in a few of those line items in that change log. So,
Yeah.
I think you covered it pretty thoroughly.
Cool. Well, I am pretty
Oh,
stoked on.
wait, one more thing,
Yo.
right towards the bottom, because this is something people bring up all the time. We removed the duplicate SVG icons in the builder. It did not make things magically faster. I think there was some misconception due to a post on Facebook that would just make the builder load in 2 seconds. Obviously, as soon as I became aware of that, I tested it and found that it made about 1 second difference in loading time. So while it was a good idea to remove those, it wasn't a magic bullet. I think it may improve things for people on really slow internet, though.
Hopefully so. Somebody asked, which is a good thought for the GitHub link. So I'm gonna get that real quick and pop that in chat. Oop, wrong search. Oxygen, SoFly, bugs and features. Is there a feature request? Is it just in the issues tab?
Yeah, let me actually drop the link because I have it specifically formulated to kind of send you where you need to go. Let me grab it. I'll drop it in chat.
Robin, I agree about adding the ACF flexible content field. That would be really cool. But again, it needs to be a GitHub feature request. And I would be curious how many people actually would want that. So I think the GitHub upvotes would be the way to do that. So will the video be available after live? Yes, it will. Pretty much as soon as this ends, it will be available for a replay. Nehal says, can we edit 2 different pages at the same time and copy and paste the sections across pages while editing them together? So
I'm going to have to wrap my head around that one.
I'm pretty sure what he's asking is if you copied and pasted a section over and you left the 2 tabs open, can you still manipulate one and it goes back and forth? I think the answer is no, right?
1 second. Let me paste this link and then I'll make sure I fully comprehend what he's asking.
I think I follow. I'm going to test.
Okay.
I'm 98% sure the answer is
All
no.
Right. Can we edit 2 different pages at the same time and copy it? No, don't edit 2 different pages at the same time. That will still overwrite your global styles.
That's what I thought. So basically what you need to do is copy the section. You need to save. Hey, look at that. I used the keyboard shortcut. And then go back to the admin panel, switch to whatever page or template you want to move to, then paste it in there, not with 2 tabs open.
Right. Never 2 tabs with Oxygen. Unless you really, really know what you're doing or you're backing up like every 5 minutes, don't do it.
Only global style sheets and stuff will override each other. Yeah. So I'll run this by you, Elijah. Robin is asking, what do you think about flexible content, Elijah?
It's a pretty cool feature in ACF.
It is pretty cool. I would agree with you.
I will be candid and say that the technical debt in supporting flexible content, because it is so flexible and just how it works, is extremely high.
Yeah, I figured.
And it's not on the first page of GitHub, I don't think.
I will be totally honest. I at this time last year was working on an implementation for that, and I realized this is going to be too much hassle, so I stopped.
Yeah, I mean, just supporting ACF repeaters is a challenge, and it continue. I mean, there's always things that go wrong. The more complicated stuff you add, the more things that can break. So we try to be really mindful of what we do and make sure it's in the interest of the majority of users. And I'm not sure that the majority of users are using flexible content yet, but if that ever becomes the case and we have a feature request on the front page of our GitHub feature request list sorted by thumbs up, it will be under consideration.
Well, there you go. He said it 2 or 3 times now. I would say that probably echoes exactly how to get things done.
Yeah, I mean, that's the power the users have in the Oxygen development cycle.
Cool. That's exciting to know that we have a voice. Our vote matters.
We're not always as fast as I would like to be to get those things implemented, but it definitely is one place that we look for inspiration on what to work on.
I love all the questions that you guys are dropping in chat, but all of these go back to what we're talking about right now. The GitHub feature request. Brent, yeah, totally agree about the Gutenberg add-on would significantly reduce the need for ACF. That would be amazing. Again, I know you're not going to be able to touch on it, but that would be something that I think I've been sleeping on Gutenberg for too long, and I watched Kyle from the admin bar, his live before Christmas about the what do you call it? Generate blocks and building sites with that.
Yeah.
And I was thoroughly impressed. So having that Gutenberg integration, I think the reason why I'm not fully invested in that ship yet is just that the header and footer and kind of the template controls. But if we could do that with Gutenberg content, whoo boy, that'd be pretty good, I feel like. So,
Yeah, I think the last client site I did, we used Gutenberg as the content editor because they needed to make a lot of edits. So most stuff that wasn't a bespoke design is just in Gutenberg, and it's fine. And it works really well with Oxygen because Oxygen's much more complicated than a lot of end users need. So your clients don't want to get in and learn Oxygen. So Gutenberg's a natural fit.
Yeah.
And I think our integration, I think it was the first in the market where a builder was like, hey, let's work with Gutenberg instead of fighting it. And that's still my philosophy. I can't obviously say what form that will take moving forward, but I agree our Gutenberg integration does need some attention.
I mean, honestly, if the thing that would fix it would be that if the Gutenberg changes reflected back into Oxygen, like that would be, I mean, I don't even know.
That would definitely fix one major complaint. I agree with that.
Yeah, that would be super cool. Yeah, so I meant to touch on earlier, somebody asked about working in multiple pages. There is a video here on my channel from the D plugins team. They have a collaboration plugin. If you're interested, you can check that out. The other thing that I thought was, I'm going to put you on the spot, Elijah, here. So we have talked about this quietly in the past. So it's dawning on me today that this stream is one of the best, if not the best, in terms of viewership. And I was wondering, would anybody listen to a podcast about potentially nothing with Elijah and myself? Maybe WordPress, maybe fun stuff, maybe life stuff. We've talked about it before, but we were both like, I don't know that anybody would actually care to listen to us. So I'm curious, what do you guys think? Would anybody check that out? Neither of us have all that much free time, but I was curious. We have the pool of people here to survey, and no promises. I'm just curious what the general consensus would be. We have 1 yes, 2, 3, 4. Oh, wow. Mystic Man says nope, but he has also added negative stuff about GitHub as well.
That's okay. We one big philosophy, as you know from our Facebook group, is we welcome negativity. We never put people down for saying bad things about Oxygen because it's a valid opinion. You know, it may not be the majority opinion, but if we ignore the bad things, we'll never make Oxygen better.
Marco says, listening to kids all day, I just want to listen to nothing. I agree. We have a resounding yes here, I would say. This is it's pretty substantial, dude.
Sure.
Maybe we'll have to make something out of this.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that.
I would love to. Yeah, because we both talked about different podcast ideas individually and things that are completely unrelated to web design and kind of our public-facing interests, should I say. But yeah, it was something that I've been thinking about a long time. But I didn't, quite honestly, I just didn't want to be like, hey, start a podcast, come on down. I didn't want it to be something like that. So I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but.
It's a very saturated space, but I will say business-wise, saturated spaces are validated markets. So
there you go. You're totally right. Cookie podcast, says Kyle. And we can have guests like Kyle and Taylor and Amanda, everybody that said yes. Oxycast. I don't know if we can use Oxy in it because it might not be about WordPress and Oxygen all the time.
Yeah, it would probably have to be an unofficial thing.
Yeah, I think so. It'd have to be the Jonathan and Elijah show, or Elijah and Jonathan show. Which way is better? Which way flows better? Elijah and Jonathan. That's a lot of syllables. Elijah and Jonathan.
That's a terrible name.
Doesn't work. Well, so we have, let's see. We have almost 50 votes and 96% say yes. So there's some thinking
interesting
for us to do.
Okay.
I like it. Well, I really appreciate every single one of you watching. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. We're right here at an hour, so I want to be respectful of Elijah's time and get him back on polishing up this alpha and get us some more updates. Somebody said the podcast Control-Alt-Delete. I think that's probably taken, but I like it.
Probably.
But anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us. If you can, in the chat, give a thumbs up or a thank you to Elijah for joining us. It was very impromptu, and he messaged me and said that he would love to join, and I'm so thankful. So thank you very much, Elijah. And
yeah, thanks for having me. I always enjoy having some more real-time interaction with the community on these, so I was excited to be able to join you.
Yeah, this worked out really great. I wasn't even sure I was going to be able to do this today, and I just thought, well, this is so massive, we gotta jump on this ship. So
yeah, for 4.0, you got to make it big.
Yeah, this is really great. Well, thank you guys very much, all of you, and we will see you in a future episode. So thank you all. Bye bye for now.